Hey, do you feel like you're going through your dissertation process just going around in circles? Does it feel like that old AOL dial-up screen where you first log on to AOL to try to get on the internet and it just keeps saying loading, loading, loading? You keep hearing that annoying high-pitched sound over and over again. If your process is going like that and you're not sure how to have an efficient plan to get through the dissertation process, you want to watch this video because on this episode of From ABD to PhD show, I'm going to talk with you about the dangers of going into the dissertation process without a completion plan. My name is Dr. Ramon Goings, and I'm founder of Done Dissertation. And our goal at Done Dissertation is to help demystify the dissertation process so that you, the doctoral student, can write and defend your dissertation in 1 year or less. So, for today's episode, I want to give you an analogy as a way to think through what we're going to talk about and the importance of having a dissertation completion plan. Let's imagine, right, that you are going on a family trip to the family reunion. And you know that the family reunion is about 4 states away and it's in a place that you've never been before. And so instead of, flying, you decide to, hey, I'm going to get in the car, I'm going to drive with the family, we're going to drive there. But let's imagine now you're going to this family reunion, and all that happens from that point, you get in the car, you just say, all right, everybody, we got the car packed, and you turn on the car and you just say, all right, we're going to the place. I know everyone in the car, if you ride with me and my wife is in the car, Renee's gonna be like, well, Ramon, why don't you have the GPS on? Like, where are we going? A lot of folks, when they're addressing and approaching the dissertation process, they're going into it without the GPS aspect of it. And this is why it's so important to have a plan, because without having a GPS on, you don't know exactly where to go. So what ends up happening is that initially you turn the car on like you're going to the family reunion, and then you just look around and say, what do I do next? And having the GPS and knowing the directions helps you get there. And this is the importance of having a plan. But I want to talk about, what's happening when you're going through this journey. So the first thing I want you to consider is that when you don't have a dissertation plan together, you are going to lack clarity and focus. If you think about it, a plan helps give you the scope and focus of your research, just like it would for a GPS. It gives you the scope and plan of where you're going. You have clarity about how to get there. But a lot of times when you're going to the dissertation process, it's fuzzy. And it's because you don't have a plan in place. And here's how it looks. For many of you, it might look like you'll say things like, oh, I'm going to write chapter 2, this week, or I'm going to write chapter 4. But when I ask you a follow-up question about how do you plan to do that, oftentimes you just say, oh, I'm going to write, but you don't have a whole particular process on how you're going to approach it. So it becomes very difficult. And then what ends up happening, and this may be your case, and let me know if so in the comments, that you will approach your writing, you'll sit at the computer screen and you'll just stare. And the Word document's looking at you, you're looking at the Word document, and meanwhile, nothing is going on in that document. This happens all the time because without having a plan, you're going to lack the clarity and focus. So what this looks like when you have actual clarity and focus is that, let's take the literature review as an example. You recognize that, oh, in my literature review, all right, I have 6 sections I need to write. I understand that probably each of these sections is going to be 5 pages. So each of my writing sessions, I'm going to work on one section of my lit review. And my goal for maybe those next 2 or 3 days is to finish that particular section. And then you recognize like, oh, 5 pages. If I give myself 3 days to do a section, that's what, 1.5 pages-ish or so per day, more than doable. We probably can get that done in something like an hour or so, right? Those are the things that help you finish quickly. And that's what happens with a lot of our clients in our velocity coaching program as to how they are able to, get through the process quickly and finish. So this is something that's really important. And if you're lacking clarity and focus, you got to make sure that you have it. And if you're someone that needs help and needs support to get through and you're lacking that clarity, but you want someone to help you develop your plan, you can apply to work with us and get support in our velocity coaching program. You can learn more about it at www.velocitydissertation.com. So when we think about and get into our, process of how we're going to develop our plan, when we don't have the plan, we are not going to have the clarity and focus that we need to finish. This is really important because, again, all of you all need the mental capacity and space to get this thing done. But the second thing that's going to happen is that you're going to have time mismanagement as a result of not having a plan in place. Because when you think about it, dissertations are indeed an extensive project that requires an extensive amount of time and effort. Literally having a plan in place helps you allocate your time efficiently, ensuring that you meet all the deadlines that you need to meet and make steady progress. But a lot of us will approach this without having a plan, just, haphazardly going at it. And what happens for a lot of folks is that, you get stagnant because you just don't know how to get a sense of clarity in order to finish this process. And this is really important because, well, again, mismanaging your time will not give you the space that you need to finish. And what ends up happening for a lot of folks who are high performers like yourself, when you mismanage your time and you don't hit the goals that you want to, you get down on yourself. And then that leads to more procrastination. And that procrastination, which starts out as a day of procrastination, ends up being a month or a year for some of you all, or multiple years, because we more likely have had a couple of students who come to us 3-4 years removed from writing their dissertations and want to get back to it. But the time is so important because that's the one asset, the thing that you have that once it's gone, you can't get it back. So you have to be mindful that if you don't have a plan in place, it can be easy to mismanage your time. And for what ends up happening is that it's not just you not writing, right? What will happen is that you'll let other things get in the way. But when you have a plan in place, you recognize that time is a valuable asset, and then you treat it like a treasure. And so with that, you approach it differently. And to give an example, one of our clients came in to our program recently. We had our coaching call last week. And at the start of our coaching calls, we talk about wins for the week in terms of progress. And so this particular client said, I had 2 no's and 1 yes for the week. And I was just interested what she was talking about when she meant the no's. And what she discussed was that, there were 2 family events that she was invited to, and she said no. And what she recognized, what we talked about, that saying no to something gives you the time to say yes to your dissertation. And she recognized and told family, like, hey, this is not going to be forever, but I do need to carve this small piece of time out for me so that I can finish my dissertation, so that I can hang out with you all more once I'm done. But again, these are some of the sacrifices and things that you sometimes have to make when you are approaching the dissertation process. But a lot of us don't want to do that. And as a result, we will mismanage our time. And in another example, I had a Instagram post recently, and we were talking about this topic. And one of my colleagues wrote on the post, we were talking about time management. And one of my colleagues wrote on the post that in order for her to finish her dissertation, she sure enough had that laptop at many a practicing games for her children. Like, she told their children, she had conversations with them, like, look, I sometimes need some time to dedicate to this because mom will be done very soon, but I need to get some time in to get this work done. And that was a short-term sacrifice she made for a long-term gain. She since had her doctorate and gone on to have a number of promotions, and those things are really important. But sometimes we can't see past our current circumstances with our time. But I promise you, those who have a plan are able to better manage their time and have a solution when, stuff happens, right? Folks get sick, folks have family you're taking care of. Like, life is real and life is life, right? So we know that's all going to happen, but you just have to be willing to, put the time aside. And then if stuff doesn't go according to plan, you recognize that, oh, I can pivot from my plan, and here's how I'm going to do it. And here's my process to do so. Again, for many of you folks, you're approaching the process without a plan. That time will just snap and go away just like that, because you didn't, have a value for it at that point in time, because something else took more value for you. Again, this is something I want you to consider, and this is one of the dangers of not having a plan. And then lastly, right, when we think about the dangers of not having a dissertation completion plan, the last danger that you have to consider is that there is no accountability structure. A lot of times folks, approach the process like, look, I'm going to write something. And then for many of you all, folks who work with us, they oftentimes have chairs who might not have the time to be able to handhold or be there to, like, meet consistently with you. So sometimes you don't have that accountability in place to make the forward momentum that you would need on your dissertation. But when you have a plan, it provides a clear roadmap, milestones, and can boost your motivation and keep you accountable, because you just know, like, all right, I got this thing to do. I know who I'm going to turn it into. I know what my next step is and my next step after that. Those things and having that plan in place is so helpful. And it helps you see the progress that you're making, because I know for a lot of you all, if you're like me, you might want to have a checkbox and you want to just be able to put the green check on it, like, oh, I did that, or highlight it off, I did that. And being able to have those check marks early and often really gives you the motivation to engage in this process long term, because as you recognize, writing your dissertation takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And so I just want us to be mindful of this, because I don't want you to, go about this not having the accountability structure and wondering why it's not going according to plan, because not having a plan in place is just really important. Or not having a plan in place, is a detriment to your process, but having a plan is critical to finishing. We know from our students who come to us, the reason why our velocity program is structured how it is, because we want to give the structure so that you have a plan in place, so that your job it literally is to execute the plan. Our job at Velocity is to take the guesswork out of the process so that you can implement. And again, we have the accountability structure because you're going to see us each and every week to ensure that you are meeting those milestones. And you'd be surprised by setting weekly goals of things that you're going to get done. You'd be surprised about how fast you can accomplish goals in the program. Once again, you have that accountability structure in place. And so, if you are a doctoral student and you find that you are in need of accountability structure, you are needing to having that supportive environment where you know your time, you're going to be able to better manage your time by having better strategy. And then the fact that you are going to be in an environment that recognizes the importance of a plan and how to create an infrastructure around you so that plan can be executed, then I would invite you to apply to work with us and learn more about our Velocity program. You can learn more about our program at going to www.velocitydissertation.com, or you can scan a QR code that is here on your screen. Again, to summarize today's video, we talked about three aspects of and dangers of why not having a dissertation completion plan could be to your detriment. First things first, if you don't have a plan, you will lack clarity and focus with your dissertation. Number two is that if you don't have a dissertation plan in place, you will have time mismanagement. And then three, if you don't have a dissertation plan in place, you will have no accountability structure. And if all three of these components are not together within your plan, it is very difficult to finish. And it's not impossible, but it's difficult. So a lot of folks who work with us want to finish, quickly within 1 year. But if you don't have these things in place, you don't have a plan in place, it will take you years to finish. And those years are time away from family and friends because you have your mental capacity dedicated to your dissertation. It's lost income opportunities. And it's just something that, as overachiever that you are watching this, you want to be a completer. And so because of that, you get down on yourself for not completing this process. But just know if you need that support, if you need that infrastructure to finish, we have you supported in our Done Dissertation Velocity coaching program. So please don't go at this process alone. Get the support that you need because we want to see you all win and get through this accordingly. Because I want to see all these doctoral students come together at one point. I can't wait for you all to finish through our programs because I want to see you all, come into a room and just go down the line about all the dissertations that you all have been doing because you all are doing such innovative work. That's one of the things that we love with our clients because we get to see you all doing so much work that's really changing lives of people in the world. So don't let this dissertation process get in your way of doing that. First things first, have a plan that you can put in place. Again, don't go at this alone. If you need support, you can reach out to us in our Velocity coaching program. Again, it's www.velocitydissertation.com. I hope this message was valuable for you as you're thinking through how to approach your dissertation and what you can do for me because a number of folks watch us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and other places and have not subscribed or followed us. So wherever you're watching this right now, if you can hit if it's on YouTube, the like and the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you're watching us on anywhere else, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc., please hit the follow button because that would mean so much so you know when our content comes up. But until next time, I want to say thank you all so much. And if there's anything that resonates with you or you have other questions, feel free to drop it in the comments because we would love to make future content that is, dedicated to the things that you all want to know more about. But again, my name is Dr. Ramon Goings, and I'm founder of Done Dissertation, where our goal is to help demystify the dissertation process so that you can write and defend your dissertation in 1 year or less. I look forward to seeing you all next time on another episode of From ABD PhD Show. And until next time, I wish you all